All right, so we're going to welcome now Saiganesh from Palo Alto. He's been with us before, but it's been quite a while. And he's one of we call him the youngsters, but he's got a lot of responsibility for a youngster. He's I believe, one of the managers there, and as a light bearer. Are you a light bearer? Yeah, and so one of the main ministers, and so we are just so happy to have you. He's also, as you've all experienced, we did play during our offertory one of your beautiful musical pieces, and you have you know, such talent there too. So anyway, we're so happy you're with us, and we're going to hand it over to you now, and then in a short while or after your talk, we'll open it up for satsang. So.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Maitri, for inviting me again. And thanks all of you, Maitri, Supriya, and everyone holding this wonderful, wonderful energy online, in person in Dallas, and also all our friends from here in the Bay Area, Pam and Sam and Danya and others who have been supporting and joining their energy as well to this wonderful, wonderful group. It is an absolute joy and an added joy because this happens to be a very special weekend, at least for most of us here. In the US, this is a Valentine's Day weekend, and I thought perhaps we could discuss and contemplate on the idea of love itself, because I'm sure we all have people in our lives, friends, parents, spouses, partners, who we can express this love with, this love that flows through us. And our master, Yoganandaji and Swamiji, also spoke a lot about how to tune into this quality of love. Master himself is famously called Prema Avatar. That was a title he was given after his passing, which means an avatar of love, an incarnation of love. Of all the gurus that we have, five on the altar, different gurus represent many different qualities, and Swamiji himself also felt the main qualities that Master exemplified in his life were wisdom, joy, and love. And of those three, he said love was a specific purpose, was a specific expression that flowed through him so well. As also somebody who brought to us, who revived the idea and strongly encouraged us to tune into God as Divine Mother, to be able to tune into that love. It's a blessing for us to have this teaching and these great teachers, um, and tuning into this ray of love that has come to us through them. I was reminded of a story which I shared with some friends some years ago, but it always comes to my mind during Valentine's Day because it was an experience that is very vivid in my mind. There's this park, state park, where I live, about an hour from where I live by the ocean. And our friends in Santa Cruz area perhaps even know this park much better than I do. It's called Nuevo State Park. It's just this beautiful beach and bluff and cliffs. You can hike. And I went to this park. This must have been a few years ago, and I was just hiking with a friend. And this park happens to be a place where elephant seals come once every year for their annual gathering. Like, I'm not exaggerating. I would guess thousands of them. It's hard to even describe. You can Google and see photos of these elephant seals gathered on the beaches, and it's endless, endless, endless beaches filled with elephant seals that are mating. And then they also have their children, and they raise their children, and before they go back into the ocean or something like that. And they have harems of male and female, and then there's also all the bachelors. It's just such an interesting sight. During this time, the park closes because they want to be safe, and they don't want us walking along with all these elephant seals. So the rangers take all the people on these guided walks through the park. You cannot just walk by yourself. I just went there the Saturday morning without knowing any of this, and I realized I can park, and then I couldn't just hike inside the park. I had to wait for a ranger-led tour. And then one of these very pleasant rangers received us, and we were all going on this walk. And as it happened, there were also a group of children with us. So, a group from a school, or I don't know, friends or whoever had come, like a group of 8 or 10 children. I don't quite remember exactly how old they were, somewhere between 7 and 10, I think, in that age group. And they were asking a lot of questions, and I think they were given some sort of activity or exercise. They were writing things down as the ranger was saying, and they were marking and collecting and doing all those fun things that kids enjoy doing in a park. And the ranger was explaining this whole mating ritual and how the elephant seals, they nurture and raise their young ones and how it all happens. And he was also showing to us, these groups of female elephant seals and nursing with their babies and all of this. And he was explaining to us that when an elephant seal gives birth, oftentimes the mother may not survive. It's very common that the mother may actually leave her body after she has given birth to the young, especially if it was a big litter. And what happens then is these other elephant seals, because all the female elephant seals are giving birth around the same time, they all have this nurturing tendency in them. And so this orphan baby elephant seal would just find a different mother and it would just start nursing. And that mother would willingly take the seal in. That was just very sweet, just to even think about. And I'm going somewhere with the story if you're wondering. The thing that stood out in my mind and what I still remember to this day is a question that one of those kids asked when the ranger explained all of this. This girl who was very smart, very bright, she asked a question that was deeply philosophical. I don't even know if everybody there understood what a philosophical question it was. She asked, does this new mother take care of the orphaned elephant seal just out of her physical instinct, or does that mother really love that elephant seal? And, you know, it is obviously a very deep question. What is even the difference? Are they different? And if they are different, what is that elephant seal going through? Is the mother taking care of the child just out of a physical instinct because there is nobody else for that baby and she now rushes and nurses the baby? Or does she actually feel that deep love? Now she's relating to this young newborn seal as her own. I mean, I cannot get into the psyche of the elephant seal, and I don't even remember what the ranger said, how he answered this question. But that question stuck to my mind. What does that elephant seal feel? Because on the human level, we have very complex emotions. We go through feelings on a much more refined level, and we articulate, express them, not just through our actions, but even through our words. We rationalize them through our mind, which often does not actually work in our own favor, but we do, and we cannot stop it. But this feeling that we feel, we also observe in all of animal kingdom. What was that elephant seal going through? In essence, one might even ask, what does the word instinct mean? What is the difference between feeling a physical instinct versus feeling love? Or is it different? Now, there is many ways to approach this, and I don't even know what the right answer is. I don't know how Swami Kriyananda would have answered this question. I wish he were here. I would have asked him. But the truth is, instinct is nature. What do we call our instinct? Instinct is simply what is natural to us. And as Swami Kriyananda explains in the Raj Yoga book in multiple places and also other talks of his and lectures and writings, there are two natures that we have, all of us. Everything in creation has two natures, the lower and the higher. We are all polar in nature. We are polarized. There is the bottom of the spine and there is the spiritual eye. And our energy is constantly moving. With every breath, our energy is moving up and down. And we are also making choices. Constantly, as we go through life, we are making a choice to draw that energy up or to draw that energy down. So, we do have two natures, and love is an instinct. Love is not different from an instinct, but it is not the lower instinct. Love, in its purest expression, is, of course, a higher instinct. And that higher instinct, it does flow through us in all kinds of ways, from the centipedes and the plants and the elephant seals and dogs and cats and humans. It expresses in all kinds of ways, and no matter how it filters through, because of course there are physical instincts. The mother feels a natural love towards the child. We all feel physical attraction. We are all children playing around, and suddenly we reach a certain age, and then we become aware. What is my gender? What is the opposite gender? What am I attracted to? Who am I attracted to? You know, Swami Kriyananda, in one of his talks, not just one of his talks, he often would quote this example of how one of his aunts told him that his niece or his cousins told him that one of his nieces, she was 1 year old and she had this special giggle that she reserved just for 1 year old boys, whatever that means and whatever that giggle was. But we all know there is also this idea of sexuality and attraction and romantic love. But love is not just romantic love. We know that too. We feel deep love even in friendship to our parents, to others that we are connected to in this world. And all of that, in a sense, is an instinct, but also it expresses in so many ways. And the same love exists on all different octaves. It is a feeling, it is not an idea, it is not a thought form. And we feel that, and it is filtered through the refinement of our consciousness. In an elephant seal, it obviously does not have the refinement to feel that kind of uplifted devotion or the kind of love that would just expand its identity, taking it to those deeper and deeper realms of joy, whereas we as humans do. Joy is love in motion, love is joy in motion. They are just two sides of the same coin. When we feel love, we cannot be sad. When we are happy, we cannot but love. These are all the same qualities of the divine that we constantly experience. Yogananda even says, I don't even know what to make of it. In one of his early writings, he says, the gravitational force of the earth is an expression of love. I think about that. Isn't just phenomenon of physics, it's a law of physics. The apple, when it falls from the tree, it falls on the ground. Where is love in this? And then he says it's an act of love. And so there is the physical universe, there is the material plane, but everything here is also a symbol, is also a reflection of spirit. And there is this quality of love that is constantly vibrating, that's constantly expressing, that we always have access to. I was thinking about this today morning as I was meditating. Even when we don't have access to that joy, sometimes, you see people going through dark times, it feels like everything has shut down, that everything feels sad and depressing, and we don't have access to something that is so innately ours. Sometimes, when we are just caught in the tumult of emotions, we don't have access to that inherent wisdom that is of our soul. We just feel what we feel and we do what we do, we say what we say. But love is one, and sometimes we don't have access to that too when we are drawn deep into that lower nature and into Maya. But I feel it is something that easier for us to tap into. I see all these, I'm sure all of you have seen these videos of, these dogs that have been chained for years and then rescued, and then they're so shut down, they don't even relate to humans. And then gradually, some foster mother, foster parent finds this dog, takes this dog into their house and just shares that love open, just being patient, just completely accepting of who that animal is. And gradually you see that animal become something else. It just blossoms. So even in the darkest of places of Maya, we are shown through life experiences, through everything that we see, that love has the potential to reach. Love is patient, love is accepting, love is listening. We all want that, we all need that, and Divine Mother is constantly giving us both in spirit but also through all the relationships that we cherish in our own lives. All the love that has been shared with us, and we are with a group of people where that love can be so easily even shared through divine friendship. It is such a beautiful quality. We often, as Swamiji famously said in one place, and also refers to it in other writings of his, we impose the complexity of the human mind on God just because of how complex this world is, how complex our minds are, how complex our delusions are. We imagine God must also be so complex that somehow the creator who's behind all of this creation is the most complex of all. And then he says, but that isn't the case. The creator is the most simple. When we move farther and farther from that creator, from that source in God, life becomes complex, we become complex. But when we start stilling ourselves, when we start drawing that energy back, and we actually learn to realize that life, God, the spiritual path is very, very simple. And one might say it is simply to love. to open our hearts. This beautiful book that Swami Sri Yukteswar wrote for us, it was commissioned by Babaji. It's a very small book. It's not one that we often even talk about or discuss a whole lot. It's called The Holy Science because it's cryptic and somewhat cryptic. And he talks about so many things and he is so succinct in his expression. It's a very tiny book. And there are many things he says in that book. I'm not going to even try to summarize all of it, but in a sense, he does summarize it himself towards the end of his book. He says, Stas, I have proved that you cannot put one foot in front of the other. You cannot take one step on the spiritual path without developing the natural love of the heart. And Swami, when he would explain this phrase, this line to us, he would say, I've heard him say this in many recorded talks of his, you could live next to the best restaurant in town, the best chef who's cooking the most gourmet, lavish meals in all of planet, and you might have a free pass to go eat there anytime. The best spread might be put in front of you, but what use it is of if you're not hungry? What meaning does any of that have to you if you do not have hunger? And that hunger of the heart is our own love. When we cannot have that devotion, when we cannot nurture that devotion, what use it is to have the most sophisticated meditation techniques on the planet, even the great avatar for our guru. If we cannot have the smallest amount of love in our heart and the desire to want to grow that love, that beautiful chant of Yoganandaji that I'm sure many of you have heard, or you can find this on YouTube. He sings this in Bengali, Divine Mother, I don't ask for salvation. No, it is actually Divine Mother singing to the devotee. She says, you can ask me for salvation, I'll give that readily to you. Don't ask me for devotion, because when I give that away, I give myself away. And it's so beautiful because, Divine Mother is asking, telling the devotee, don't ask for devotion. But of course, she's saying, there's what else could you be asking for possibly? Because you could have salvation, but you could not have devotion. That's what we need to be seeking, to expand our hearts in that love, to constantly want to be in that love, to want to experience it. The last thing I want to quote or say is these lines. I do want to share a song with you. Uh, Whenever I think of love and just this quality of love, the one thing that comes to my mind is this song of Swamiji. It's such a beautiful song, the song itself, but also even the poetry of it. Just to even read the words, the song that is called What is Love. If you have not heard it, you can hear it. And also, I would recommend you to even just read the words of that song to tune into the message and the poetry, the beauty of Swamiji's expression. He begins that song by saying, What is love? Is it only ours? Or does love whisper in the flowers? Surely we, children of this world, could not love by our own powers. I think of that line, and that's the line that came to me when this child asked this question about the elephant seal. Is love ours? As children of this world, do we even have the power to love? Love is not ours. Love whispers in the flowers. Love is everywhere. It is through God's love that the sun rises every morning. It is through God's love that there is gravitation, that we even stand on this planet. It is through God's love that every tiny thing moves in this world. And when we feel that love, no matter in what form we feel, whether we believe in God, don't believe in God, whether it is for our parent, it is a mother feeling that towards its child, whether it's an elephant seal feeling it for another orphaned elephant seal laying on the beach, whatever it is God flowing through that consciousness. It is God flowing through us. That's how simple the spiritual path is. It is for us to be aware when God is flowing through us and to seek it, to seek that devotion, to seek that love, to be able to express it. And when we feel that devotion, we start loving everything, not just God, everybody that we see, everything that we see. Who was it that said, George Washington Carver? I think, when you love something enough, it will speak with you. If your coffee mug is not speaking with you, because we don't love the coffee mug enough. I just have my coffee mug in front of me. But it is true. Every atom in creation is an expression of God's love. The more we start feeling the more we start hearing, we start listening, we start living in that love. It's so easy to talk about these things in theory, but it is a feeling. That's all it is. And I want to share um, some music with you before we end, because what better way to tune into this quality than all the beautiful music that Swami Kriyananda has given us. I'm going to share a song that I'm sure all of you have heard. When Swamiji wrote this song, he actually, I think he called Asha and he said this. He said this about a couple of his songs, but this was the latest one that he wrote in his life before he passed away. And he said, if I don't do anything else in my life, this would have been sufficient. That's how much he loved this song. This is the song Love is a Magician. So let's tune into Swamiji singing. I'll share the song with you. I have a tiny little keyboard in front of me that I'll just use for a drone. Love is all I know, sun rays on the snow of a winter long, in darkness without song. Oh, my heart's a fire, burning all desire. Only you remain, and life again. Too long I did stray, flung lifetimes away, imagined you did not care. I know now your smile was mine all the while. I listened and love was there. I can breathe for love. All the stars above call to me, come home. Life's waves all end in foam. Mm, Only love can heal all the pain I feel. What a fool was I to turn away. Love is all I know, sun rays on the snow of a winter long, in darkness without song. Oh, my heart's a fire, burning all desire. Only you remain, and life again. Home, peace.
Thank you so much, Saiganesh. That's a beautiful Valentine to all of our hearts. Thank you so much. It was beautiful. I have to say, though, when you first started to open it up and you said this is a special day, my mind went to the Super Bowl. I thought, how is he going to tie that into the teachings? But thank you so much. So, well, we'd like to open it up now to everyone. You're more than welcome to, again, open your cameras. You can unmute yourself. You can raise your hand. You can put it in the chat box. But let's do a little sharing now with Saiganesh. And I'll just wait and see if anybody has any questions or comments.
Oh, we're going to come off of Facebook.
Oh, yes, and we'll be coming off of Facebook now, too. So, Facebook friends, if you want to join us, please go to our website, and there's a link there to our Zoom link there, and we would love to have you join us.
AnondaDallas.org.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't be shy.
I'll just make a comment that you might be surprised to know that we have a holy science study group going.
That's right.
And
I
we
am
had
surprised.
yes. And our guru by Shiva is leading it. I don't know if you know Shiva, but anyway, we're working on it.
And it's pretty heady stuff. We just met yesterday for the second time.
Wonderful.
And, you know, but I love the fact that you tied that in. That gives us, that was a great, thank you, Victoria, for sharing that. So everybody, in another couple weeks, we meet every, what is it, the second and fourth Saturdays of the month. You're welcome to dive deep in, you know, with us as we explore that amazing piece of work.
And I'm just going to say, even if you're not into to me, that book is very complex. And I read it as the second book on this path. I don't know why. Someone gave it to me and I went, what am I getting myself into? When I read the book, after the path, I read the Holy Science and it was like, whoa. But I just want to say that behind the scenes now, many years later, I can sit there, I can listen to the great group discussion of the Holy Science. But for me, I guess I just tune into the depths that we can't take a single step unless there is that love. And if Sri Yukteswar said it now, I got it. I'm a believer. I know it, and I'm still working toward doing that. But yeah, it's a great vibration of all there is love.
Good
morning, Saiganesh. This is Sam. I'll turn on my camera so you can see my strange
Hi,
Sunday
Sam.
morning face. You know, I don't think it's by any coincidence that you brought up the Holy Science.
I guess not.
It is not. It is not. And the conclusion, I think what we need to do, even in our group, is to forego the 70 pages or so before the conclusion and go read the conclusion. If you have the book, if you have either the current SRF copy or a copy of the Holy Science as it was done in 1920, its first publication, go read the conclusion. And then I think it's going to help me go through the rest of the book. It's just, I mean, the conclusion, love rules, and God, love is God, and it's there, and I know it's going to help me go through the rest of the book. It's like, I know it's skipping to the end, but it's I think it's a wonderful read, and it's a good read for today, for a Valentine's Day reading. So, hi, Saiganesh. Hi, friends in Dallas.
And having been brought up as a Catholic for so many years, I was never a Bible quoter, but one of the few Bible quotes that I remember as a child and throughout my adult life until I came on this path and still remember is, I don't know where it's from in the Bible, but God is love, and he who abides in love abides in God, and God in him. And so it's all about love. And today, thank you for bringing that up. That yeah, Valentine's Day is very natural, but it's really every day. It's God is love, and God abides in us, and that's what this path is giving us the opportunity to experience.
This is Mallory. Hi.
Hi, Mallory.
thank you for your music and your words and your wisdom. I have a friend, I was thinking about her, and I was with her the other night, and she doesn't go to church, and she doesn't, as far as I know, meditate. She prays some, I guess, but she just can't help it. She has this big heart, and she just shows love in a very gentle, unjudgmental way. And here I'm struggling to get there, but some people are just, I don't know, maybe it's past lives, but I just notice how she honors people and cares about people. She gave us each a Valentine card that she made,
Sweet.
but she's just got this open heart. So she's a good example for me. That's what I wanted to say.
There is a message from Karen in the chat that says, Saiganesh, that was a beautiful talk and a
Oh,
beautiful song, and I wonder if it would be possible for you to sing the first song you mentioned.
oh, the only reason I didn't share it is because it is much better with an accompaniment. What is love? Is it only ours? Or does love with sorry, I'm trying to remember how it, because I'm used to singing to the guitar. Whisper in the flowers. Surely we children of this world could not love by our own powers. Sam has his guitar out. I don't know if you want to sing, Sam. No, you're giving me moral support, but it's
Yes,
beautiful.
indeed.
The words, I can keep going. It's not a very long song. The words are, all the words are so beautiful. What is joy? Is it just a dream? Or does joy laugh in every stream? Are the clouds mindless after all? Or is joy all nature's dream? God is dead, so men say. Can they see all life's is play? Not a church binds him as its own. Not a creed can make him fully known. Foolish we, if we limit him. Every atom is his throne. I love those lines. Not a church. God is dead, so men say. Can they see all lives his play? Not a church. The church binds him as its own. Not a creed can make him fully known. Foolish we, if we limit him, for every atom is his throne. Thank you, Swamiji.
It's beautiful.
You know, Saiganesh, I guess love is in the air today because it occurred to me. I mean, we were talking yesterday about the holy science, and the Shiva is interesting because he went through and he did a literal translation of each of the sutras, and what that suggests, and one of the things he talked about was that, and you don't find this in Sri Yukteswar's commentary, but it's suggested in the Sanskrit that Om is a vibration between God's infinite love and God's omnipresence. And I wondered if you had I get the love part, the omnipresence I'm not so sure about. So I wonder if you'd have any comments about that.
Oh boy.
I know I threw us a whole.
It is, I don't exactly, I'm not sure I can fully claim to understand everything you just described in terms of, I mean, I completely believe the literal translation of it, and it sure sounds true. I've always imagined Om as that expression, mastered in multiple places. He equated home and the Holy Ghost, and he writes about it, especially even in the way he explained and translated the Bible verses. And he always called Om the Comforter, and that in itself was it was the first time, compared to all the other traditional translations and the explanations of the Indian scripture, I've never read anything like that. The Om is not seen as an expression of love in that same way, or at least people have not expounded on it the same way as Master did. So I've always thought about it that way, and how Om is this vibration that emanates from spirit. It is actually, spirit is vibrationless, and Om is considered that first expression. It's what the Genesis calls the Word. In the beginning, there was the Word, there was only the Word. The Word was God, the Word was with God, and so Om is God. But also, just to think about that vibration that was the very first expression of spirit is also understandably what will take us back. Bharat, in one of his seminars, he has given a lot of seminars on the Om technique. It's one of the techniques, if you have not learned, I'm sure you can go through the Ananda centers or learn it online from the village. It is a meditation technique where you actually consciously tune into that vibration of Om. And Naya Swami Bharat, who is an exponent of this technique and who often gives classes and shares more about that, he often spoke about how Swami also endorses, and Master, I don't know where he spoke this, that's why I'm quoting Bharat. He said, one has to experience the sound of Om before being able to even approach the state of Samadhi, to be able to be fully absorbed in the spiritual eye, or to see the spiritual eye, or to penetrate or pierce it. One does experience God in the form of that vibration as Holy Ghost, as that Om vibration. So I'm not sure I'm directly addressing the quote that you just shared, because obviously I can make few things of it. I don't know if I fully would be able to grasp it. But I've always understood, especially through Master's writings and Swami's teachings, that Om is Divine Mother, that Om is the comforter, and it is also, it came from spirit, and we all come from Om. And in that same way, it is that vibration that we carry in us. It's almost, what is that Greek myth? Deirdre or somebody who sends her lover with a string into this maze to fight a demon. I don't know if you guys have heard the story before. There's this huge maze, and this Greek warrior is supposed to conquer this beast, this demon. The reason why nobody has done that is because once you get into the maze, you cannot find your way out. You get lost and you get eaten by the demon. And his lover, Deirdre, gives him the string that he carries. So when he's able to slay the demon, he's able to use the string to retrace his steps back to her. And Om is that string. Divine Mother sent us here, and we are holding it. We are always holding it. And this maze is uncomprehendibly complex. It's incomprehensibly, sorry, complex. And then we hold that vibration within us in meditation, and just in our own attunement with God and with Divine Mother. And we have the opportunity to tune into that vibration, whether through the technique or just by stilling ourselves. And then we have that access to reaching God in that omnipresence, in that love, in that purest expression of spirit itself. That's how I relate to it.
Yeah, thank you for that. I was just thinking it's interesting that you said that Master and Swami talked about Om as the comforter, and of course my mind immediately, growing up Catholic, went to the Acts of the Apostles, and when Jesus is about to ascend to heaven, he talks about how he will send the Comforter, the Holy Spirit, which in the Christian tradition is known as the Holy Spirit. So it's again that oneness of religion. Yeah. So anyway.
I wanted to just make a comment because you're touching on territory that we're also heading here of a class on Om, and I've been reading actually for the first time Bharat's book, and he subtitles it "The Melody of Love," and
Yes.
and I think that's a beautiful book. If anybody has not read that book. Especially for one like myself who has struggled with Om technique. But as you read that, it gets you much more enthusiastic about it. And one of the things, and I guess what I'm coming to understand, I can't quote the book, I've dog-eared it a whole bunch, but I can't quote it, is that, that act of creation is love itself, and also he says in there that even if you don't hear Om, just in that sense, that you can feel Om. And that was a really interesting, sort of a revelation for me in that sense. But I think, yeah, that love and Om is all very, it's very much one of the same.
We just had, some dear friends, Anandi, Seva before her, they left their body, and I had somebody else in my life and also someone else where I live, transition. And we always say chant Om in their right ear. That's what obviously happened with Anandi and Seva, of course. She just decided and left. And with Anandi, when she left at 1 or 2 a.m., throughout the day, I was receiving texts from my friends at Ananda village. People were both meditating outside their home in Ananda village, but also there was constant chanting of Om in Anandi's room as she was, going back and forth. And Krishna Dewey, who was present, was actually chanting and playing Om even during the time of her passing. So I cherish that, and I know I might, but probabilistically, I'll probably be around and I'll be with more friends who might leave their body. I just even think about that tradition, how some death has such a grim association in our culture, and just like somehow it's considered, it's supposed to be a sad thing, and it is supposed to be unfortunate or whatever, however people think about it. Obviously there's the human grief, I don't want to minimize that, but also to just hold it that way. We are chanting Om, the person is receiving that Om. Just as creation is an act of love, birth is an act of love, death is an act of love. And we are in that love. And this tradition we have in Ananda that Swami gave us to chant Om in somebody's right ear, because I've personally done that many times in my time here at Ananda. And I every time I'm there in that place chanting Om or playing Swamiji chanting Om, it is such a beautiful reminder to think about this love, think about all of these things, because that's the moment. That's the moment when all the spiritual practice, all of our life culminates. And it doesn't matter who we are, what we have done, what we have not done. Everything else dissolves into that Om. And now we are done, and our friends are done and they're leaving. It's just such a beautiful expression. And I'm sure all of us will have people in our lives, or those that are close to us, that may transition, even if you're not physically close. I've always meditated on, chanted on Om when somebody else was transitioning. I played Om in my apartment. I was not physically with them because I was trying to feel into that vibration. And as I was praying for them, I was praying in Om, because I felt that would be meaningful in their transition.
I think the profundity of Om is is something to really contemplate in that sense, because it seems so simple, and sometimes we get to a place where we are being maybe more casual about it, but it is incredibly powerful, essential, fundamental. It's not. Master talks about it being, the protector too, and that we need to really be conscious about when we do own just the power that is behind that and what we are channeling. And anyway, it's really, I appreciate your sharing about that too. So, other comments? I see Sam and Pam are about to head out, I guess. We've got California people and Colorado people today, and who else? Anyway, Kim.
Hi. What are your thoughts on love for others and love for self?
Yeah. Thank you for sharing, Kim. I'll share my thoughts with you because obviously I don't know your son or the exact details of all the people and the situations involved. From the little that I've both learned from my experience and also just seen other wiser, more experienced spiritual guides teach me is, romantic love in our human life is a very, very complex karmic assignment. And it is often very unclear what that assignment is supposed to look like, how it manifests sometimes. And I'm sure all of us can relate to this as I share these things. Is, you see sometimes that looks like a relationship that can never work, but somehow it does. And this looks like they would be perfect for each other and it doesn't. And then you wonder, why is this person holding on to them? This relationship, oh my gosh, why would she be with that man? He's not treating her well. I'm just talking about worldly situations that we have all seen and faced. And yet there is something, because by definition that kind of love that we seek and we're drawn to, even as we try to spiritualize it, obviously we all do it to our best possible abilities. There is also an irrational drive. I wouldn't even call it physical. It's just an irrational drive, because that's sort of how love works in that particular way. We are drawn, and I use the word irrational, but honestly it is karmic, especially for people like who we are talking to here on this meeting. And I'm going to think your son too, knowing you as a spiritual person, as spiritually refined individuals. We ourselves have, we are drawn into a relationship, we are drawn to somebody, we are brought into a karmic situation because of something that is driving us from the past, from past lives, from inside. I mean, I'm not directly addressing your question. I don't quite exactly, you asked a broader question on love, but even to just specifically speak of the situation, all I often feel in such situations is to allow everybody to have their best expression and sort of have to go through that, even if it's unpleasant, both for them and everybody around. I've often seen that it might be a karmic necessity because of how these things generally work out in life. There is a karmic unfolding that has to happen in its own natural course, that is essential for our own spiritual unfoldment. Now, the other part of self-love and loving others, what it means, and all of this, you know, this is probably, we all try to express the best love that we have for the ones that we want to love fully and completely. And we all try to do our best, whether or not we are in the spiritual path, because it's not like somebody who's not spiritual is always calculative in their relationship with their spouse or their partner. A lot of people try to be very genuine. I cannot say everybody, but we all have the potential. That's what I mean. We all have the potential, no matter who we are, to be able to love that one person, to be able to give ourselves fully and receive it fully. But like, Swamiji often said, until we are established in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, it is often tainted with a certain level of ego involvement, because there is, no matter how much we hold it to be completely selfless and unconditional, because of the fact that we are still always identified with our ego until we are completely self-realized, that love also has and has an entanglement with that involvement with our own self. We want to love ourselves, but the best affirmation, the best way we want to ourselves is as a child of God. What I mean by that is our self-worth cannot be defined, or I should say, we don't want to define our self-worth on anything other than the fact that we are children of God, not because I'm attractive, not because I have a certain talent, not because I can do this, not because now I'm capable, not because I'm this, I'm that. I can take care of myself. I have so much money. Whatever, I can list the whole entire world. So that self-love that we are talking about is the foundation of love itself, but it is often different from what we imagine it to be, just in the whole wide world, where okay, self-love can have so many connotations in popular culture, and it's hard to tell whether it is positive spiritually or not. But it doesn't matter, because everybody is moving in that direction. What we want to be affirming as devotees and disciples is for that love for ourselves to be based on this understanding and this realization that we are worthy by being ourselves, because we're children of God, not because of anything else. And when we are able to love ourselves that way, when we stand in that place of understanding and realizing our self-worth in our relationship with the divine, then that love for others becomes a natural extension. Even in his affirmation for love in Swami's Book of Affirmations, he talks about the true love as being relating to others as extensions of ourselves. I'm saying this in answer to your question, which may or may not actually be all summarized in that karmic situation you described, because self-love and love for others is not different. Because the true love we share for others is also this realization that everybody is an extension of ourselves, and the love we have for ourselves is from the understanding that we are pure expressions of God. So God, me, everybody else, it's all the same, and it's all love. It's not who, what, from where to where, but in that state, there's none of that. There is no lover, there is no beloved, there is only love. But that we are talking about, that state of having dissolved all levels of identity, all the ways in which we identify with our ego. Not to say that we are not capable of experiencing it. I'm presenting that as the best possible affirmation. The best possible affirmation is to love God and to love ourselves, because we are part of God and we came from God, and love everybody else because they are not different from us. So in that sense, we can affirm that self-love and love for others and love for God not to be different because they're not different. We experience them often as being different because in our tiny little universe, all these three loves are tainted by the fact that we are still identified with our limited self. But the best possible way to affirm it is to not hold on to that identity, but to keep telling ourselves it's the same. Because in that affirmation, honestly, there's no different kinds of love. There is just love. There's no you, there's no me, there's no thou, that there's no, uh, you know, there are no distinction. Love dissolves, and there is just that feeling, and there is just that experience. But while we are still in this body, still figuring out and still trying to express and feel and channel those feelings, I think the best way to do that is to start with love for God, love ourselves as children of God, and then others as extensions of ourselves. I hope that is helpful.
Yes, it is. And you're kind of describing a certain level of detachment from ego in all of this. And that's a necessary, but that's what we're aiming for. That's where we're aiming for. Let's put it that way. We're all
Exactly. I know, as a
even
mother
with
and as a
ourselves.
son, and it's obviously you want the best for your child. In this particular case, I know maybe there are other mothers in the group who can share more. Uh, but this is one of those areas where relationships and those kind of karmic entanglements, we see very little on the surface. You have no idea what these two souls brought into this life to resolve and work out. That's the only
Yeah.
thought I would add to that.
Yeah, it
And
does feel that way.
yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
It feels like it's just one big love fest today. I'm sitting here listening and absorbing, and tears coming down my face because I just feel this vibration of love, and it's just the wonderfulness of satsang and people sharing so honestly and authentically and deeply, and you are just sort of the catalyst for that, and we thank you again for being with us today. I'd like to just give anybody else an opportunity. We are at a little past 12:30, and I don't want to keep our guests too long, but please take this time to unmute or put in the chat box one last time. I know Stephanie said, "So grateful, Saiganesh, for the practical wisdom flowing through you. Many thanks to you,
Thank you,
Guru."
Stephanie.
Stephanie's in Colorado. She and Susan are tuning in from Colorado. So, anybody else? Carolyn Cole. Yay!
Thank you so much for your talk. How do you say your name? Saiganesh?
Saiganesh.
I just wanted to thank you. I don't have anything in particular to say, but I just enjoyed hearing your words.
Thank you. You're welcome.
And I hope I'll meet you someday. I had intended to be going to Ananda Village a long time ago, but I'm sure you know why it's been delayed.
Oh, soon. Maybe this year.
Hey, I will make it there. Thank you so much for your time and your wisdom. Thank you. Bye-bye.
So if anybody else wants to say anything, or if we just want to open our cameras now, and those that still want to wave goodbye,
Just for a friendly wave.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wave goodbye. I have to go.
There's Neelam and Austin.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was very nice. Good Valentine gift.
Absolutely.
So, okay. Well, I guess we will go ahead and sign off, and we are so grateful again for you coming and sharing with us. It was just wonderful.
And singing for us.
And singing. The singing is amazing. We're going to be bringing Asha and Keshava here. I don't know if you heard that. But boy, now I'm wondering if we could put you in the suitcase too.
As travel becomes easier, I'm sure we will all.
Yeah.
There'll be more exchange.
You're going to be on the list. Let's just put it that way. So thank you again, and everybody else. You have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us. And as we always say here, namaste, y'all. And
Namaste.
we wish you all a great, wonderful day.